This meeting is being recorded.
All right. Hello to everyone, and welcome to today's session. My name is Carlo Bobilis, and I'll be your moderator for this session. We've got an amazing panel, starting off with Crystal Storer and Arun Vital. But before I hand over the mic, I do have a few housekeeping items to cover about today's session. Today's session will be recorded and made available on demand after the live session ends. We'll make sure to provide some details at the end. Also, we'd love to hear from you during today's presentation. So if you are on WebEx and have a question for our speakers, please feel free to send it through the WebEx question and answer panel, where our wonderful panelists are ready to respond. And for those tuning into our live stream, we thank you for joining in as well. However, Q&A is limited to those via WebEx. Don't fret, we actually have a post-webinar discussion thread on the Cisco Learning Network where you can post any follow-up questions if you are viewing via the live stream. So without any further ado, I'd like to kick things off by welcoming our first presenter. Crystal, over to you.
Thanks, Carlo. And hi, everybody. Crystal Storer, Director of Product Management for Secure Network Analytics. Excited to be able to share some of our strategy and product updates with you guys today. First, we'll take a look at the agenda. I'll cover kind of the high-level strategy and some recent updates on kind of where we're driving the business. And then I'll pass it over to Senior Product Manager on my team, Arun, to cover what's new in the 750 release that'll be out in January. And then we'll take a look ahead at the roadmap. But first, I wanted to start with some recent industry recognition. It's been a little while since we connected with you guys. So I wanted to highlight a market research study done by Kuppinger Cole. You can find the full report on our website. But we ended up gaining the leadership position across all of the categories, and as well as the overall leadership position for the network detection and response market. So we're really proud of how we performed here in terms of our feature set, our customer base, you guys, you're why we're here, as well as accolades for our global presence and the product innovation that we've been delivering. We also placed well in the Forrester Wave. You'll see we were noted as a strong performer, but really, really strong on the cusp of leadership there, and got some call outs for our integrations, as well as some of the other capabilities that we have. Again, this full report has been licensed for distribution, so you can grab it off our website. From a higher level Cisco perspective, I wanted to touch on the overall strategy and what you might be hearing around suites. I will tell you guys that Cisco is really doubling down in security and how we show up for our customers. When we first started talking about suites, I was a little like, is this another enterprise agreement? But really, it's about transforming the portfolio to align the applications that we deliver to our customers in a much more meaningful and integrated way. We feel we have a real opportunity to serve our customers more effectively by truly integrating the products and making them part of an actual suite. So a lot of the items that you'll see on our roadmap are very much related to making our products all part of a truly cohesive family that deliver the outcomes our customers need. Secure Network Analytics is included in the Cisco Breach Protection Suite. And so the capabilities that we bring to the table around network detection and response, and then integrating with endpoint security, email security, and all in service of the Cisco XDR strategy. So more to come on this, but really excited about how we're transforming there. You guys also hear a ton about Cisco XDR, I assume. And so I wanted to touch on the XDR strategy overall and where Secure Network Analytics fits into that. So our goal is to converge visibility, detection, and response into a single risk-based solution for the SOC, for the security analysts that are dealing with incidents. The solution is automated in cloud first, but it's certainly not cloud only. And so we'll touch on that in a coming slide as well. It's an open and extensible platform. It's, Cisco and third parties. We realize that, many customers have a variety of tools in their ecosystem, and we need to make sure that we can deliver outcomes that work across the investments that you've already made. We know that a lot of the target market leverages managed service providers. So want to make sure that we have support for those as well. We know loud and clear that endpoint and endpoint telemetry is foundational for XDR, but we at Cisco believe that the network and network detection and response, and specifically secure network analytics, is equally as foundational. Those of you guys that use our solution regularly are very familiar with our capabilities and how important that is to being able to detect threats earlier in the kill chain. A little more on the telemetry data that we have in Cisco XDR. This is some market research that we commissioned through a third party, and it does validate that what we're doing is really important to our customers. So when they think about XDR, endpoint, network, and firewall are three of the most important sources. And all the work that we do with network telemetry already in secure network analytics, as well as firewall telemetry, those are really important to our XDR strategy overall. So when we look at the opportunity ahead of us, there's really two distinct markets, but they're also kind of converging. So we look at what we have with secure network analytics as a best-in-class network detection and response capability. We know that there are many customers that will leverage this standalone and a best-of-breed type of ecosystem. And we also believe that secure network analytics serves a really, really important purpose in the XDR strategy. Because while XDR is considered cloud first and cloud delivered, there's massive data sets that you guys have, like network telemetry and firewall telemetry, that is on your premise. And so if we can leverage secure network analytics to do that initial processing, hosting, and storage for those large-scale data sets as close to the producer as possible on premise, then that helps both us and you guys, our customers, optimize for both cost and performance. We also know that secure network analytics is heavily leveraged for investigations, threat hunting, detection engineering. There's a lot of granular policy control and customization and complex querying that you can do in secure network analytics. Then when you look at what we're defining for XDR on the right-hand side, it's all about that security analyst and up-leveling that experience to give them guided workflows, to give them robust contextualized security incidents that are curated from multiple different detection sources, right? But you've got to have those detection sources integrated so that you can achieve the XDR outcomes. And then the shared use cases where we're going to deliver everything, either SaaS, hybrid, or on-prem, and give our customers the deployment model that works best for them, is the pervasive visibility across their network, the advanced high-fidelity threat detection, and we've been making great progress there with converged analytics that I know Arun will touch on again, and then the simple and meaningful integrations across both Cisco and the third-party ecosystem. And so the bar at the bottom there also highlights an important part of our strategy that you've seen us executing on, which is designing, developing, and refining feature and functionality cloud first, but then where it makes sense, bringing that back on-prem for secure network analytics software release, so the customers that do desire to stay wholly on-prem achieve those benefits as well. And so to just touch on the secure network analytics strategy itself and like how we're driving the business and the teams, our goal is to provide meaningful differentiation to Cisco XDR, which is a huge market opportunity ahead of us. But we want to make sure that we're leveraging the power of our customers' existing network infrastructure investments, and then making sure that secure network analytics helps organizations find those advanced hidden threats and suspicious behavior before it has impact to the organization. The key tenets of the strategy, and this is really our organizational culture and objectives. This is what we talk to our teams about every single day. We need everybody that's working in our group, both on SNA and on XDR, to focus on the threat, understand the adversary, understand the attack lifecycle, understand what's happening in the industry so that we can do better in terms of identifying threats early with unprecedented fidelity. We also talk about the modern network as a sensor. Stealthwatch network as a sensor goes back years and years, but it's absolutely remains a core tenet to our strategy. We want to remain agentless. We want easy to deploy integrations And we want to make sure that we're taking advantage of the infrastructure that you already have in place, making it really easy to deploy and easy to scale across your entire enterprise. Customer obsession. We love our customers, and you guys are really important to us. It's why we're here. So we make sure that everybody that supports our business, from the CX team that's hosting this webinar, to the sales teams that you engage with, to the engineers that are building this product, and everywhere in between, they need to understand what your job is and what makes your job difficult and how we can solve real problems that you have. And we can't do that without truly understanding the customer and the workflows and the tasks that that they need to accomplish. And then, as always, you can expect from Secure Network Analytics a focus on ensuring scale, performance, reliability, and compliance. So always making sure that we can meet those increasing demands as data goes up and traffic gets encrypted and all of the other things. We need to make sure that we are delivering you guys a very reliable and secure solution. And with that, I will pass it over to Arun to touch on what's new in our upcoming 750 release.
Sure. Thanks, Crystal. I'm basically going to spend next few minutes to talk about what's there in 7.5. Again, as you can see, the general availability for this release is Jan 29th. That's when it's going to be made available. So I'm going to get into the details of what 750 has in store for you. Consider this slide as more of a 10,000 foot level view of what 7.5 has in store. I'm going to get into details of each one of these features in the subsequent slides, but this is just like an overall 10,000 foot level of what 7.5 has. In terms of detections, we are enabling new detections for firewall logs. This earlier, if you can remember, we used to just take the connection logs and store it. It used to go with SAL. Now we are enabled the detections on that. So you'll be able to see detections on the firewall connection logs, and also you'll be able to set up your own custom security events on these connection logs. The second part of this was expanding on the responses. Converge Analytics was basically missing this piece. This is where we are completing the loop. We are enabling the response management on the Converge Analytics. So you'll be having multiple options to take responses, take action on the alerts that you see on the Converge Analytics. There are a few more enhancements that are part of this release. We have certified the 7.5 release for FIPS 143, common criteria, VUSG, V6, and DODIN. So this is a long certification cycle. So 7.5 has been certified for the new government certifications. TLS, on the TLS front, we do support the 1.2 for the backward compatibility, but 1.3 is a new TLS we are supporting, and there are some new restrictions, root access restrictions that we had to be compliant with for compliance reasons. So that has been taken care of in this release as well. In terms of IPv6, we support dual stack. We also, for backward compatibility reasons, we do support IPv4, but IPv4, V6, as well as dual stack. I'll touch upon that later once we get into the details, but IPv6 support is also part of this release. We have simplified the certificate management. Earlier, we used to have to go through a deregister, and there was a long process to basically, if you had to do any recertifications or upload a new self-certified certificate. So that has been simplified, which I'll touch upon that. And there is more information about what is this. Probably is the last release for M4. M4, we have been supporting M4, M5, and M6, 3 generations of hardware appliance. So I'll touch upon that. 750 is going to be the last release for M4, given that we already have the new M6 hardware out there. And there are some new hypervisors that we have certified, which I'll touch upon. So this basically should give you an overall idea of what 7.5 has in store for you. Now we'll get into the details of.
Sorry, Arun, I just wanted to chime in here. Thank you for that. But I just wanted to call out the government certifications and the IPv6 support. What a tremendous investment this was for the business. Compliance and certifications aren't always like super sexy, but these are really important to a large swath of our customers, including federal governments around the world. So a huge call out to the engineering team on that accomplishment. It was, again, a very big investment that we continue to make. And then if you think about moving to IPv6 for a network-based product, a network analytics product, There was also a tremendous amount of work that went in there. Just wanted to call out all the investment that we did make in those areas, because it was a really strong feat for the team. Thanks. Back to you, Arun.
Okay, so let's look at what did we do with the firewall logs. So let me just complete this slide. Okay, so the firewall logs that we are using for detections. Give me a second. Where is it? Okay, so this is basically the path. What you see in the product, the connection logs that comes in, we basically make it run through our detection engines, and basically it gets stored in the data store. We basically ingest, we convert whatever the connection log flows that are coming in, we basically convert it into a net flow, so we can make it flow through our detection engines, and when we do detections on it. Basically, this does not count against your FPS license. There is a flow rate license, as well as since this is a connection logs coming from firewall, you might have questions that, hey, does this consume any of our flow rate license? The answer is no, because there is a separate license for the SAL, which is the GB per day. As you can see, you need that license, but we will be doing this conversion from connection logs to NetFlow and make to run through our detection engines. So this is the path that we typically take for the firewall logs. So by doing this, what happens is you basically will be able to do the detections on the connections log. And if you're trying to do some investigations or threat hunting, you can basically try to find this in the flow search now, which was not available in the previous release. So if you go to a flow search and give an IP address, it could be either your source or destination. You'll be able to see the connection end event. You can see in this snapshot, what we have taken is basically showing you the connection end event that we are seeing from firewall. This was not available before. So this is fire connection logs detections gives you this additional capability now in the flow search. And if you have a data store, you'll be able to store for a longer duration, and you'll be able to get back and investigate, go back in time for historical data purpose when you're doing your threat hunting. And if you can see at the bottom of the page, you'll see that you can also have visibility into the payload. This is coming from the firewall logs. So you have an option when you're doing your threat hunting or investigation, you want to take a look at the payload, that's made available as well. Additional thing that you can do is when you try to zoom in on the host, and if you try to look at the host report, what is happening with this host, this allows you to see the security events. You can see that this flow was denied on the firewall side. So this is an additional insight that you'll get from what is happening on this IP address, that this is the logs that we received from firewall. Given that we are passing it through a detection engine, this is an additional insight that you get, which was not available before. So this is what the firewall detection, connection log detections brings to the table. Hopefully you'll be able to use this for your detections and make use of this feature. You can set up custom security events around this firewall logs. As then I can see, you can write multiple rules. Just given CSE is pretty much customized. You can pick multiple event fields, the CSE event fields, and you can set up your own criteria. As you can see in this example that we are showing, it's basically trying to set up a rule where it is setting some conditions, whether it has to be inside out, outside, and you can also decide on your flow action. What is that you need to be? You want to deny this or do anything. This is basically an option. This is a sort of another detection engine. You can basically set your own alerts, throw the same rules, and take some actions based on this. So you will see the firewall connection log that we are processing now. You will be able to set some CSE alerts and write your own rules on the firewall logs, which was not available before. This is basically showing you on the dashboard the CSE for the firewall logs. Since we are processing the firewall connection logs, you'll see that any CSE rules around us. You'll see that start showing up on the dashboard as well, and that's what's being highlighted here. We have connected the response manager to the Converge Analytics now. So basically, whatever the Converge Analytics alerts are coming out, you can start taking some action now. You have multiple options. You can either set it to email, syslog, threat response, or webhook. So there are multiple options that you can select from. So this has been enabled in our 7.5 release, which was not available before. So as you can see, the primary reasons of response manager is this is the logic it runs on. You basically pick an alert and you basically set what is the response you want to take an action on. So if some certain conditions are met, you basically can choose any of those actions. It could be a syslog, email, webhook, or a threat response. You can configure those. So take some actions and trigger a response based on the alerts that you're seeing coming from the Converge Analytics engine. So this is flexible. You can set up this is basically a snapshot of alert. So if you're trying to set up a new alert, this is showing you that you can set up multiple conditions to trigger this. So based on that, your alert type, you can see this is basically giving an example of suspected cryptocurrency, but you have multiple alert types that you can pick on. And on the associated actions, again, as we said, you have multiple actions path options, which is either email, syslog, you can do a threat response. So you have options now, or a webhook. So you can configure this. And this piece was not available before. You were not able to take any actions on the Converge Analytics alerts that you are seeing, but now this release gives you that response management part to the Converge Analytics alerts that you are seeing before, that you were not able to take any actions on. We have put in some features to improve the user experience, and one of this is you will see in the alert type in the Converge Analytics, this column was sort of missing. This was available previously with only the cloud analytics. Now this column has been added. So you will see this on the alert types. If you look at, there's an additional column of observation type. You'll see multiple observations that's made available as an additional column when you take a look at the alerts. In terms of smart licensing, there has been some updates, especially for PLR. If you want to reserve a license, it used to be always through a command line utility, and we made it easier. You can basically request it through the system config. Now you can see here, a new item has been added. In advanced option, you will see that there is a separate item for license reservation. So if anybody is trying to look at the PLR, what happens to my PLR with this? So you see that it's part of the setup config, system config. You can simply launch this, click on this option, and just go ahead and request your license reservation. This is basically an utility. This is an enhancement done in 7.5. Earlier, you had to go through a command line, but that has been enhanced to use the system config, and you can go through this menu now. There are a couple of enhancements that went in as a part of this release as well. TLS, as we mentioned, TLS 1.2 was supported before. Now we have a support for TLS 1.3. That doesn't mean that TLS 1.2 is not supported. We support both 1.2 and 1.3. This could typically use for inter-appliance or external TLS connections. You can basically configure the system config to be 1.3 or 1.2 or 1.3. I think it's your choice. It could be a combination of both or 1.3. You can pick your option based on the deployment environment that you have. We have added some new workflows for a non-root user. That's in terms of DIAC packs, license reservations, which we touch upon, PLR, data store operations, and more. So this is not an exhaustive features that I'm trying to cover for 7.5. I would encourage you to take a look at the release notes that has already been posted on Cisco.com. So I'm just highlighting on some key features here in the interest of time. So there are other enhancements that have gone in as a part of 7.5 as well. This is just capturing the high-level items here. In terms of IPv6 that Crystal alluded to in the previous session, earlier in 7.5.0, we could add an interface with an IPv6 to the appliance, but we were not using IPv6 for communication. It was just you could add it, and SNA would ingest and process the IPv6 flows. But in 7.5, now you have an option of a default mode. You'll have a dual stack, which will be the default mode moving forward. And if you are looking for upgrades, then you could select IPv4 if you're still using IPv4 in your network. But if an IPv6 has been configured, then the appliance would upgrade into a dual stack. And you can see the options there. You basically have a v4, v6, or a dual stack. You can pick either one of these, but the default now is going to be a dual stack. There are some caveats for this. I think the release notes has a table in there, which basically captures what appliances and whether it supports v4, v6 or dual. I would encourage you to take a look at the release notes, which has more details on this front. But caveat is most of the appliances are certified, but the data store is not at v6. I think you can see that in the list below. The data notes, it has to be certified for v6, but more exhaustive list can be found in the release notes. So IPv6 support is part of 7.5. Will support dual stack, but there are some caveats which are around the data store. So I would encourage you to take a look at release notes for those caveats. In terms of certification, we have simplified this, as this used to be a long process earlier. Now within the system config, you basically can select a list of appliances that you want to upload the self-signed certificates, and you can do a bulk distribution on this. Customers can regenerate the self-signed certificate once primary manager without the need to re-register. Earlier, we had to de-register the appliance and do this process, but now you don't have to do that. All this can be done from a central manager. One point of contact now where you want to do or take care of all this. This basically allows customers to refresh the certificate. So if you get a warning that your certificate is about to expire, you can start taking action on this right now. This has also been patched back into 7.4.2. So this feature is even made available in 7.4.2. So if you have any expiring certificates, this has been simplified. I would encourage you to take advantage of this. And if you see a warning, go ahead and use this now. This is simplified to take care of this self-signed certificates. So this is basically summarizing that, hey, this has been simplified and there is not requiring the distribution of new identity certs across the cluster, which was the case before. And consequences of this is root certification rotation is you just have to touch the TLS appliance widget, and you basically have to deploy only one root certificate. The root certificate need to be deployed across the cluster. So this has been simplified quite a bit from the way it used to be before. So I would encourage you to take advantage of this and see if you have any expiring certificates coming up, make use of this. In terms of our hardware appliances, we support 3 versions of hardware, M4, M6, M4, M5, and M6. And SNS 7.5.0 would be the last release where M4 is going to be supported. 7.5.1 onwards, which would be our next release, will be supporting only M5 and M6. And you can see that reflected in that support matrix below as well. So the final version for M4 is going to be 7.5. And this is not going to be supported M4. If any customers out there on M4, I would encourage them to consider M6, which is already out there, which has great performance numbers. So it's time that you take a look at M6 and move, because this next release 7.5.1 is not going to be supporting M4. It's just going to be on M5 and M6. In terms of hypervisors, we have done some additional work here. We are certified on the VMware ESXi. We used to support 7.0. Now we have even certified 8.0 has been added to the list. And we have patched it back as well. So even the 7.4.2 release that's out there will also be supporting the ESXi 8.0 version. In terms of KVM front, we have recent versions, whatever was available, we have been updating those components, and you can see that the kernel, Kemal, libvirt, and OpenSwitch versions. So these are all the updates that has gone in on the KVM front. So 2 hypervisors, these are the updates. And in terms of ESXi, we have patched it back to 7.4.2, as you can see, the 8.0 version. This one I'm talking about is XDR, as Crystal mentioned about. We are going to enable the feed. The SNA is going to be the NDR feed for the Cisco XDR. So as a part of that, in 7.5.0, what you can do is you will be able to send your events up to XDR. You will be able to enrich. You can support in the process of data enrichment for XDR. So as you can, this is basically a snapshot from Cisco XDR dashboard. You can see that these are the events that are coming up from SNA. You can see the source here. This is basically showing that this is coming from Secure Network Analytics, that is SNA. And they have started contributing to the XDR investigation. So if you're trying to do any investigation and you want to see what's the feed from the NDR front, you will have that enabled in 750. So we are supporting the data enrichment part of it in the Cisco XDR. And if there is any relationship indicators, that's going to be made available as a part of that event, if it's available. So in 750, you have the data flowing to XDR, and we are going to be supporting the data enrichment part of it. And I'm going to touch upon, we have bigger plans, but that's going to be part of a subsequent release 751, which I'll touch upon in the next few slides. But in 750, we will be supporting, the path is open. We are already sending our data to XDR, and it's going to be on the data enrichment part. The correlation part and the incident creation is going to be part of our future release, which is 751. I'll touch upon the next slide. Crystal, if you want to chime in anything more on this front, on the data enrichment part with respect to XDR, go ahead.
No, I think you covered it well. Thank you, Arun.
Okay, so I'll shift my attention to roadmap. So looking ahead, given this was 750, what is that we have in store for 751? What's coming up in the next release? So you'll see to the left, this is the 7.5 contents, which we ran through just now, firewall detections, federal certs. Again, as I mentioned, I didn't touch upon all the features that have gone into 7.5 release. In my presentation, I covered a few minutes ago. There are a few more there. You can see that NVM split tunnel support in CDS and DDS environment, flow log ingest enhancements, and also the FQD and field value for the proxy. But most of the other things we did cover. So what you see there is the list of 750, which is going to be GA'd in end of Jan. Looking ahead, what is that we are working on? And we are planning towards going towards a commit early Jan, towards the Jan end. And these are the items currently what we are looking at. As I mentioned, in 750, you could see that the data was already flowing into XDR, and we are using it for data enrichment. We want to take that next step in the 751 release. This is where we are trying to enhance this and get involved in the incident generation. So you'll be able to do the incident generation from SNA alerts and alarms, and also do the correlation with other XDR resources. So SNA is going to be like one more resource for Cisco XDR. It already has inputs from EDR, email, and SNA is going to be the NDR feed and an additional resource where it will be supporting an incident generation as well as a correlation. That's an enhancement you're going to see come part of 751. And in terms of firewall, what is additional plans we have? There are some additional fields the firewall has added, which we have not caught up to. And that is that we are planning to pick it up in the 751 release. You can see fields like EVE, that is encrypted visibility engine. So this basically gives you a view of what is a client applications or process, anybody who is using TLS encryption. So this is giving you more visibility so admins can take some actions or write some policies around it. So this is currently not available, and we want to catch up on some of the firewall fields that we currently don't process. So in 751 release, we are trying to make sure that we bring in those fields, the additional new fields, which gives you more visibility into what's going on in encrypted traffic. The detections on-prem from CA probably is going to be the next step. We want to make sure we get all the fields in, and then we plan to enable the detections on that. So we will be considering for detections, enabling detections on these fields that are coming in as well from CA perspective, CA engine, detection engine. The next item there is the SSO MFA. So we will be supporting the single sign-on and multi-factor authentication. We are currently looking at a couple of IDP vendors to certify, and we will be closing on that pretty soon. So this is going to be an item which has been an ask from many of our enterprise customers as well as federal space. So you will see us support Cisco and MFA in 751. In terms of converge analytics, this was a missing piece. We were not able to connect the dots and use the response management to take ICE action. So we will be enabling that. And so using converge analytics response management, you will basically able to connect to ICE policy. So you could either quarantine, deny, or take any actions that ICE allows you to take. That's going to be part of 751 as well. In terms of suite, magnetic design is something we are adopting across all our security products in Cisco, and we are going to be aligned with that objective, and you will see some magnetic design compliance framework being implemented in our products that on SNA as well. In terms, primarily, you'll see that change probably in terms of navigation. You'll see quite a bit of changes on the UI front just to be aligned with the magnetic flow. In terms of reporting, we will be supporting scheduling reporting. This is currently not supported using our report builder. So we will be picking up, allowing you to schedule a report. So you can schedule the report of your choice and you will have it at your mailbox or whatever options you choose. So on the reporting front, we will be making sure that we'll be having a scheduled reporting part of 751 release. So this is, again, as it's highlighted on the top, it's currently under planning. We will be moving towards a commit somewhere towards the end of Jan. And I think probably by the time it's time for our next webinar, probably we'll have you a committed list. But this is a tentative list, I would say. These are the top items that we are looking to commit in our next upcoming release 751, and which we expect to be GAing around July 2024.
Thanks, Suren. Great summary. I just wanted to highlight here how this ties back to some of the initial strategy that we talked about. So the XDR integration and the firewall integration, really important that we as a Cisco application are working more closely with the ecosystem and making our products work really well together, and that we're supporting that concept of being the on-prem data collection and repository for all of the network and firewall telemetry. Also on the magnetic design, that effort, I think, is going to be a huge improvement to just the overall UX and user experience. Think of it as almost like Microsoft Office, right? You've got different applications like Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel and Microsoft PowerPoint, but they all look and feel the same, right? They have very different outcomes and different use cases, but it's intuitive to navigate between them. They work better together. That's really what we're looking at from a suites perspective. And so the magnetic design is the design that Cisco is adopting actually from the Meraki side of the house to make all of our products look and feel the same, have very similar constructs in terms of navigation and vocabulary. And then the other one I wanted to call out here is reporting. We are highly confident we're going to get scheduled reporting and report builder. We've also got some great concepts underway that we're hoping to get committed around visualizations and getting more of those concepts out of the Java client and into the web UI so that you guys can finish that migration, or so that we can all get off Java and move completely to the web UI. So we hear you on that one. We absolutely want to get that done. It's a very high priority for us. So I just wanted to highlight that. So thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Crystal. Okay. In terms of collaterals, where to find some additional details, we have provided some links here. This link, what you can see, I think this is a very comprehensive deck of documentations that you will find there. And we have categorized into 23 categories there. So you have an exhaustive library available here. This basically goes down to visibility, detect threats, and how do you enhance integrations, accelerate. So you can find these resources to customize your engine, integrate into your security ecosystem that you have. We also, I think we had in the previous sessions, we had touched upon the data store architecture. So there is a whole bunch of information that's made available for the data store as well, starting from architecture view and redundancy scaling, resiliency failover. So there's quite a bit of information that we have made available in terms of data store. And this is additional demo series that's available made. I think this is on YouTube. We have a channel where it basically takes you from all the way from alerting, and there are also some real world attacks that has been captured as a demo here. I would encourage you to go and explore this, and it takes you all the way from the alert lifecycle and the expert insights, what happens here. So this is a very useful link if you want to go and explore, as it takes you through the whole chain, what happens during an attack and how you can overcome. And last but not least is a lot of other training center documents available as well, which is if you're looking for some additional information on Cisco XDR or data store response management, there is a lot of collaterals that has been made available. And we will be providing this deck as a part of, so you can use these links and explore what's there in terms of documentation. And I think that's pretty much what I had to cover. Thanks for your time for joining. Hopefully you found this session useful. And I would encourage you to probably see if you can consider the new hardware. As I mentioned, the key takeaways I would say is M4s are going away. So I would encourage you to take a look at, if you're running on an appliance, M6, and upgrade to 750 release as well. So you can explore the new features that is available. We are here to help you. If there is anything else that you need from our end, feel free to reach out to your field representatives. They'll reach out to us. And thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you very much, Arun and Crystal. If you have a question for our speakers, please use the Q&A panel. I believe we have some time to answer any questions. Let's see here. A question come up about if this session will be recorded, and yes, it is being recorded. And since we're live streaming the post-webinar discussion thread, let me go get that copied. I'll paste a link to where you can actually jump on if you do have future questions, as well as where the recording will be posted. So let me grab that link and I'll put it in the thread, and it'll be made available immediately, actually, right after the session ends. So let me get that posted. Right, so that's it there. And yes, the deck will be shared. We'll just make some edits and then we'll make it as a downloadable PDF, but we'll go ahead and include it with the recording. So thank you for that. And it doesn't look like we have any other questions. So Crystal or Arun, would you like to say anything else before we wrap up?
So I'll just wrap up by saying that, kind of reiterating what I said in the beginning, our customers are why we're here. We want your feedback. We want your engagement. So thank you for joining today. And if you do want any more information, feel free to engage with your customer success representative, the BU. Arun and I and others on this call and others not on this call are here to support you and gather your feedback. So let us know what you need, what you want to see. We're here to build product to solve your problems. So thank you all for attending.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. And again, your feedback is important, so you'll be directed to a survey. So we do encourage you to take time to participate. We thank everyone for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.